can see the dust being lifted up from the base of the cloud, and the National Weather Service is noting the very tight velocity on radar, likely supporting, in addition to the tornado threat, baseball-sized hail. So the hail threat is going to move toward Enix. Enix, you're not in the tornado warning. That's in southern Bailey County. But the baseball-sized hail potential is going to be moving right toward you. It's heavy rain in Enix and southern Bailey County right now. At this point, it looks like the tornado is probably right at the state line, so it looks like the tornado is about to cross the state line and make its way here into Cochran County. So unfortunately, the storm has been producing a tornado over the past better part of 10 minutes or so. It's in an environment as it moves to the east that will support its structure being maintained. Right now in sundown, it's 89. In Morton, it's 83. So there's a lot of warm air. Dew point in the upper 60s. So we can tell you the storm is out there right now. As it moves east, it's still in an environment where it's going to continue to be significant and likely will continue to produce a tornado. It looks like we may not be seeing the dust being lofted anymore here on the last few scans, but it's gone up and down right as it's moving across the state line. But John, that is the update. I wanted to show you those pictures from about 10 minutes ago when we first saw the tornado development. It actually looks like on the left side of the storm, maybe another funnel trying to form on the left side of your screen, while the funnel that we saw to the ground, the tornado is more to the center of the screen. So Julio and Chase are observing the storm right here. We also have Adam on Live View 1, who is also watching the thunderstorm, and let me see, he's a little bit farther south of it on the Texas side of the state line. I believe Julio here is right there along the Texas-New Mexico state line. I'm not seeing the dust being lofted like just a few minutes ago, John, but now you can see it actually right there. You can see dust being lofted. Once again, you can see the funnel lowering, and this is why we want to give a heads up to those of you. If it turns more to the right, it would move toward Morton. Morton is not in the tornado warning right now. This is areas west of Morton along Highway 114 all the way to the state line. Maple is included in the tornado warning, but that's the latest update here, John.
All right, thanks, Matt. Appreciate that very much. And again, you're looking at the live view here with our units out in that area. Julio and even Adam Young are in that general area watching this storm system as it makes its way into the South Plains. The danger, as Matt had mentioned, we have to watch for the dust being lifted. And obviously, we're looking at it on radar with velocity, and also there's quite a few storm chasers that have been the last couple of weeks with these storms. So that aids as far as knowing where the tornado is, where it's developing, where the storm is moving, in addition to what's going on with radar. Tornado circulation, according to the National Weather Service, a little update here, about 2 miles west of the Bailey and Cochran County line. So again, it's working its way gradually in, and you can see some dust down there. So again, and notice how difficult it would be to see depending on where you are in relationship to that. There's the dust on the ground at this point, and you actually may not be able to see the full funnel there, but that does show. That's a great indicator. That's how you can tell for sure if you've got one on the ground and maybe even another. But as he zooms back, you can see the size and intensity. I'll step back just a little bit of that major supercell storm in that region and back to the west and southwest. And a lot of lowering in clouds here, but there's no rotation that we can tell from here with those. We're just watching where these touch down. And again, you could have a storm that produces multiple tornadoes. We'll see. I'm not saying that's happening, but you could have if the storm continues to intensify. So tornado warning in effect. You can still see some dust down in that general area as we watch that tornado try to develop. It has been going up and down for the last 10 to 20 minutes, roughly estimated there. And we do have some tornado safety tips. Shania, is your microphone on? I'll let you go over those if you'd like.
Yeah, for the most part, you're just trying to make sure you're getting in the center of whatever home or building that you're in as of right now. Make sure you're not near any windows. You don't want to be near any glass, mirrors, anything like that, that if the tornado did come through, you want to protect yourself from any type of shattering of anything. Of course, you're trying to get down, getting to the lowest point within the home. If you have a basement, of course, that's the best option. A storm shelter would be great as well. If you don't have that, though, you just want to be to the lowest point of the building as possible, or of your home, and then covering yourself up. So using pillows, blankets, if you have helmets, that would be great. You want to protect your head in case there's any flying debris or anything like that as the tornado moves through and makes its way through your home. John?
All right, thanks so much there, Shania. Those are great reminders, and again, especially the coats and the helmets, that's a great way to go protect them, because the majority of people injured or killed by tornadoes is by the debris and not getting in a safe area soon enough. Do not wait until the storm is literally up on you. Now, I'm not talking about if you're in Morton, you can get ready to go to your safe area in case you're needed, but you need to do that. But at this point, you wouldn't want to do that. But don't wait until that tornado is within less than a mile of your home. Makes it very difficult to make sure you get into position in a safe position. So if you know anybody who lives in that west and northwestern areas of Cochran County, the southern areas of Bailey County, you need to be letting them know in case they're not aware of this tornado, and keep some communication up there. Take a look at Doppler radar. We go back to that and just show you what's going on, and then we'll go back to our live video. But again, you can see now here's the community of Maple, and there's Enix. Matt had mentioned already, Enix here in a path of a large hail. Unfortunately, that's likely happening at this point in the community of Maple. Further south, that warning extends down south along the highway, but does not include Morton. I know there is a thunderstorm in Morton, but nothing severe in Morton. There's your indications of the hail, very large just south, but actually close to Maple. There's definitely hail in that community, reaching back to the west and back up to the northwest, and back, still warnings in effect for Lingo and Causey, but it looks like that's just on the tail end of the warnings earlier. It doesn't look like there's any tornado activity there, but part of the rotation again is still going to be throughout this region here, and you can see the red and greens. Look at the intense rotation, and again, this is a very dangerous thunderstorm because of the fact tornado is coming down, and then it may lift again briefly, or it may come down and stay on the ground for a longer period of time. So this is the tornado warning extending all the way over towards Maple. Enix, you may get some very large hail out of this. You're not really in that tornado warning. And I know we have a lot of viewers up in Bailey County and up near Muleshoe. You can see the tornado part of this storm is well south of Muleshoe, not a threat to Littlefield. Could become a threat to Morton because it's tracking east and maybe a little bit southeast. And as you go back up to areas around Clovis, things have cleared up there. This was actually, looks like the two storms merged. Initially, there were two in New Mexico. Matt?
Yeah, and John, just want to let you know the latest update from the National Weather Service on this tornado warning, which will continue until 5:45 for southwestern Bailey and northwestern Cochran counties. A confirmed tornado is 5 miles east of Lingo, or 16 miles northwest of Morton, moving east at 20 miles per hour. So confirmed tornado with this, as well as baseball-sized hail. And our Julio is out there. We'll go back to him for the live look in just a second, but he's seeing the visual confirmation, and there are several chasers out there. Confirmed tornado. Tornado warning continues until 5:45. John.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Now, going back to radar, you can see positions there. Unfortunately, it's not a threat to Morton. You have a little shower coming through your region right now, but the primary threat's going to be up in the areas around west and northwest of Morton, where the track is indicated on Doppler radar here as issued by the National Weather Service. They just modified that just a little bit, so not so far southwest. Still generally in an east-southeastward track along 114, still not putting Morton in that warning, but notice that it does extend up towards Maple. Those of you in Maple, you may want to seek shelter at this point, since it looks like the storm may be tracking a little more east and southeast. So I know you're getting the large hail now. You may already be in your shelter area, but just remember what Shania was telling you a few minutes ago. You want to be in the interior part of the house, away from windows if possible, a closet and a bathroom. And again, you can see the rotation there. This is just overall rotation with that storm, the red and the green air flowing in and out associated with this intense thunderstorm. It has touched down several times, and Matt mentioned that we have one on the ground, at least the latest report there. And let's see, last I see is another one just came in, spotted reported tornado 16 miles west-northwest of Morton, and it places it inside the state line. And again, just a little bit, so that's that same area you were looking at rotation a few minutes ago. So storm tracking east, maybe a little bit to the southeast. I haven't seen any recent speeds on that, but nevertheless, Nevertheless, it's working its way through Cochran County. Will continue likely in that general area, anywhere from the southern areas of Bailey County all the way down to the central areas in Cochran County. And a severe thunderstorm warning is also in effect on a broader view as we look at 98th and Slide. A quick update here in Lubbock. By the way, I'll just point out the dew point. That's the intense amount of moisture in place. Even if you get 50 to 55, you have thunderstorms. This makes the air with the heat and potential boundary very unstable air. And that's why you get the intensification, and these can be such long-lasting storms. If you look a little further northwest, you'll see some activity north of Clovis. There's a warning back in New Mexico. We'll keep an eye on this storm. Looks like it's approaching the Hobbs area, maybe later on. Just a severe thunderstorm, a couple of those there. The biggest concern is here, and this storm obviously is not a threat to Lubbock. Got a couple of showers trying to pop up west of Levelland, maybe southwest of Levelland a little bit, northwest of Levelland. Another one maybe trying to develop well south of Morton, just about along 214. And we do anticipate more showers and thunderstorms popping up. Likely that they could be severe, and hopefully they do not produce a tornado, but they have the potential for some very large hail, some very high winds, and some very heavy rainfall with them. There's some slow movers here in the storm, at one point moving at about 15 miles an hour. It's edging up towards Littlefield, not the tornado portion there. I want to emphasize that, but the storm itself moving towards and moving into Sudan, some light showers there possibly, and it looks like it's going to work its way. It's broad enough that it will be impacting the Spring Lake and Earth and Olton areas all the way down to Littlefield. Then again, it'll work its way into the areas of Hawkley County. Let's see, several brief tornadoes from a storm chaser in that area, it looks like, and he was 12 miles west-northwest of Morton. And let's see, spin-ups reported there, in other words, from his reports, Matt.
And if we can go to Max 2, I want to give a quick update, and this is obviously the critical information here, but the interest that people have here in Lubbock for the game tonight. This is the Oklahoma City Metro, and they have thunderstorms there. The NCAA has pushed back the start of Game 2 of the Women's College World Series. It's going to be pushed back at least until 7:45. So thunderstorms in the Oklahoma City Metro, they are not dealing with as intensive storms as we have here, but that game's pushed back until at the earliest 7:45. And it's actually, we can go to Live View 2 if you can pull it up. It's a crowd of people. Yeah, we can go to that Live View multi-box and show you here. In Live View 2 is where Pete and Andrew are, and we'll try to pull that up in just a second. On the left is Adam, a little bit more southern side of this thunderstorm. He's with all the dust. You can see the inflow, the strong inflow on the storm. Julio's repositioning near Morton because they're staying out ahead of the storm, staying safe, but they're watching the storm right there. Looks like Adam may be seeing that additional funnel development. It's tough with all the dust that's being sucked in right there, the strong inflow into the storm. But this is west of Lubbock, near the Texas-New Mexico state line, moving to the east. We have two different vantage points on this storm right now. But meanwhile, up in Oklahoma City, it is storming right now. It's not nearly as severe as what it is here, what it was 2 days ago, but up that direction. Let me know when we have that signal available. That's going to push back the start of the Tech softball game. But nonetheless, yeah, that's fine here. So looking at that, that's a severe warning down just south of Oklahoma City. But there's a live look right now. That's Devon Park. That's the American flag waving there. And they're crowded beneath a covered area. That's where Pete was ready to go for his live shot at 5 o'clock. It's pouring down rain, so everyone is bunched in. Andrew Wood operating right here. We actually saw the softball team coming through here a little while earlier. See a guru right there from Tech Athletics, Robert Giovanetti. I just wanted to show you here. This will be pushed back until 7:45. All the people that are crammed in right there at Devon Park. So that's interesting information. We have to go back to the critical information though, because we still have a tornado in progress in northwestern Cochran County, just crossed the state line, moving to the east. So yeah, you're probably waiting to see what's going to happen with that game. We can tell you it's being pushed back. So watch the weather here with us here as that's being pushed back as well. John?
All right, thanks, Matt. Appreciate that update. Hopefully they do not get as intense as storms as we're getting down in Hawkley County. And the track on this, Shania has added a track, so you'll get a better idea. Again, here's where your circulation is. A little bit of a hook indicated there, but obviously we've had numerous reports. Rotation according to the National Weather Service here in Lubbock. The latest thing just came in. A strong rotation 11 miles west-northwest of Morton, so it's going to put it right here as you can see on the map. And that is tracking generally east, and you can see that. And again, there's your track, takes it on east. If it stays in that position, it's not a direct threat to Morton. You guys are not under a warning, but if I were you, just continue to watch us and stay on our First Alert weather app so that you'll be in a safe position or you can seek shelter immediately. But if you're in northern Hawkley County, as I've emphasized, in the southern areas of Bailey County, you want to make sure you can get to shelter immediately. And if you feel like you're in danger and you see a lot of activity going on, you may want to go ahead and seek shelter earlier. But these are some of the communities, you can see them listed there, that Shania had Maple all the way down to west and northwest of Morton. And again, she puts another track at about 20 miles an hour on there, anywhere from Maple and Enix and Oklahoma Flat, Littlefield possibly. Now, we're not saying a tornado will go that way, but this just gives you the general indication of the severe part of this storm. That means the large hail and the tornado that's been associated with it and the blowing dust. And again, it continues to be a very intense and dangerous thunderstorm as it moves east. If it stays on this track, it'll be moving into the southwest areas of Lamb County and the west-northwest areas of Hawkley County. There were a lot of pixelation here again because of signal quality, and you've got that intense storm, but at least it gives you a good idea of what is going on. I'm not going to try to define any of that with this kind of pixelization, but at least shows you the intense wraparound of all the dust and the moisture. Remember what happened down in Dawson County, how difficult it was there to see it with the moisture in the air, the rain, and the fact the dust and stuff blocking visibility very, very much. So both Julio and Adam continue to watch this storm system as it moves through that region, and there's a lot of chasers down in that region once again. Now, according to the Weather Service, that would be 2 miles, the information I just gave you here. It's 11 miles northwest of west-northwest of Morton. That makes it 2 miles southwest of Maple. Maple is in Bailey County, and we showed you that on the radar a few minutes ago. So if you're in Maple, I would suggest that you be in a shelter at this point, although it is going east and hopefully it will stay south of you. But you've already experienced the hail, and you still may have some hail in the area, but we're talking about very close down in this region right here. So that's close enough that any change in movement, whether it's drifting north or more east or northeast, could impact you. Likely it will continue more east and southeast will be the track, but if you're in Maple, make sure you seek those safety shelters. Safety tips that we mentioned you a few minutes ago: seek shelter in those areas, basement and a closet and a hallway, areas that are closed in the middle of the house, away from the windows. I know we all like to look outside, but the best thing you can do is stay inside, get in a safe area, have your phone, have a portable charger with you, flashlight if necessary, because you may lose some power and go into the evening hours if there's any wind damage from that, but that would be the worst case scenario. Still some hail back west and a little bit northwest of Maple. Storm working its way east, and for those in Enix, just remain alert should that storm continue tracking in this direction. And if the Weather Service extends this warning, last report it would be in effect till 5:45, so we've still got quite a time on that, almost 30 minutes for it to be in effect. But again, indication of very large hail. This is Maple, and again, you can see that same rotation area where if the tornado's on the ground, this is the area that's going to be the most danger at this point. West of that, towards the Texas-New Mexico state line, if you live in that area, you should be relatively safe, although there may be some strong winds still associated with that. And then further south along the highway, I believe that's 114, pardon me, reaching into that area. And here's 214. You're relatively safe back in this region. This is the danger zone, close to the community of Maple, southern areas of Bailey County. Moving to the east could become a threat to Enix. Right now, it's not a threat to Morton. Y'all are far enough to the south. So far, the storm has gone more east than southeast, but keep in mind, many times these storms become right movers, and when they do, that means they're going to work their way to the southeast. So we're monitoring that to see if it happens, and we'll see if there's any trend. But again, this is just the general rotation with the storm and the general eastward movement. A couple of storms down around Lehman, and that is making its way towards Morton. Maybe a shower or two around Whiteface. Looks like some light rain in Littlefield. Things have really cleared out in the areas of Dora where the watch is still in effect. Yeah, Matt?
Yeah, I want to, if we can go to the streaming computer real quick, I want to show you something that just popped up over the last couple of minutes here. And keep in mind, we'll step this back to just before 5 o'clock when this first produced that first tornado. You see the little icon that shows up? That's where that one of the initial tornado reports was, west of the state line. We were already seeing the greens and the reds coming together. So that was at about 5:01. And we'll go to Julio in just one moment. Just want to show real quick, let's first stay with the radar real quick here. So at 5:01, we had that tornado. I want to advance this here to the latest scan, which is 5:20. And note how just in that latest scan, we've seen much brighter greens and brighter reds. The rotation is increasing. And like John just mentioned, these, when they become more severe, often turn to the right. We're seeing more of that now, taking more of a southeasterly movement. So that tells what we're scanning here on radar, that we're seeing the significant rotation with it. And we can give an early heads up that, hey, if this storm holds together, it'll get into Hawkley County eventually, and it is still off to the west of Lubbock. But just wanted to show you that, John, that we, on the latest few scans here of radar, the velocity has really ramped up. In other words, saying the rotation is increasing. And the Storm Prediction Center noted now until 6 o'clock, there's the risk for strengthening and tornadic storms and potentially a strong tornado over this part of the area. They highlighted real small part of the western South Plains. Let's go back to live view 3. And Julio mentioned again seeing the funnel and the updraft, the ingestion of the air right there. Again, this is northwest of Morton in northwestern Cochrane County, and you can just see the sheer size of this storm. In addition to the threat of a tornado, it's producing some very large hail, in particular across southern Bailey County, but that tornado threat is just northwest of Morton, and we're just going to watch this here and see how this storm kind of behaves here over the next few minutes. Everything ahead of it points to this storm staying severe. Now, that's not to say it's going to continually produce a tornado, not necessarily saying that, but the environment ahead of this storm is ready to go. There's a lot of shear, a lot of energy available, so that's why as the storm continues east, we expect it to stay pretty intense. Shania and John?
All right, thanks, Matt. I don't know if you just noticed the chat information I see here. I don't know if you want to look at it on velocity, but it looks like there's a new mesocyclone developing 7 miles northwest of Morton, and the older mesocyclone is still very active and tightening 10 miles northwest of Morton. So we may have a double situation, a dual situation to deal with here with potential tornadoes working their way through that region. This is a dangerous thunderstorm, and it's interesting. I think if I were driving in that area, of course, you don't have many options to go south. I would not be driving through all the dust and low visibility if I could avoid it. That storm could be turning, as I mentioned, and also Matt has emphasized there, turning a little more southeast. That would be very common with these supercell tornado producing thunderstorms to do that. That's why they're called right movers, makes them so dangerous. So it was going more east, a little southeast. Now it's cranking up some, going definitely to the southeast. It could be working its way towards 114, and unfortunately could be working its way towards the community of Morton as well. So I'm going to ask Shania just to pop up those safety tips for Morton and the surrounding communities and folks around Morton.
Yes, still just emphasizing you're trying to be in the middle of the home or building that you're in right now. You don't want to be close to any windows or any glass. If the tornado were to come through and have all of the windows and glass spread out everywhere, you don't want to be near that. So you can avoid getting injured. Want to get down lowest point of the home or building. Also, if you have a basement, of course, that's definitely going to be the safest bet, or storm shelter, either one of those. But if you don't have those things, just being at the lowest point of the home or building, and then of course covering up. So pillows will be good, blankets will be good, coats, helmets, mattresses, anything that you can put on top of yourself to protect yourself from flying debris, making sure that you're specifically protecting your head from any head injuries. Most or a lot of the deaths that are associated with tornadoes come from people being hit by the debris. So that's really what you're trying to avoid when you're using these tips. You're trying to get in the middle of the home or building, get down to the lowest point as possible, and then just making sure you're covering up as much of your body as you can. John?
Shania, I'm just going to repeat the information I did a few minutes ago. For those of you that live in Morton or in and around the community of Morton, you're going to find, again, a weather service. And this has been, as of a couple of minutes ago, 5:27, about 3 minutes ago, 7 miles north-northwest of Morton, a new rotation there, I'll call it that, and then an older rotation, and the potential tornado still active and tightening about 10 miles northwest of Morton. So between 7 and 10 miles, that's how close that storm is to you in Morton. That is why now is when you need to be seeking shelter. Do not wait any longer. That way you can get your phone, you can get a portable charger. As Shania mentioned, you can get all those items ready. You can get yourself safe, whether you're going to a cellar, especially if you're going to a cellar. Don't wait closer time for the tornado to get closer. Just go ahead and get your items. Get in the cellar and just wait there until it passes by. And don't forget your phones and a portable charger and a flashlight, obviously, if you're going down in a cellar, and the fact that you may lose some electrical power. So we're saying that, but you can see technically Morton is not in the path of that storm, but just the way it's cranking a little bit more southeast, the Weather Service could include it in this warning. That happens to be the largest community, obviously not part of Hawkley County. Just want to make folks aware of that. But I'm also including the general surrounding area, particularly if you live west and northwest of Morton, and you can see all the way up. And folks in southern areas of Bailey County, southeastern Bailey County, you're not in the warning, but that southern area, again, still around Enix and Maple, you need to be prepared to seek shelter if necessary. Otherwise, there is a moderate thunderstorm over Morton. That is not a severe thunderstorm. And let's take a look at this view here. Look at the dust in the air associated with this storm. I believe this is Adam again moving along.
That's Julio. They're on 114 right here west of Morton, and you can just see how strong the wind is.
Yeah, look at that, and low visibility. And again, they will stay safe. All of our chasers will stay safe and associated with getting around these storms. And obviously, there's a lot of other chasers that are going to be involved in this activity as well. So he's going to park here along 114, give us a view of all the dust and dirt with that massive storm system. Again, just ahead of him to the west and to his north and northeast out of the path there. So and now you can see the strong rotation.
Yeah, this is a different perspective here from our friends News Channel 10. So we have 3 live units on this storm, and you can just see the sheer rotation on this storm and the significance of this. I mean, this is a monster storm. Shania was just animating the radar a moment ago. We continue to see little cells pop up ahead of it, and the parent storm just sucks in those small little cells that pop up. Unfortunately, everything that's ahead of the storm, it's not like some days where we have scattered storms everywhere. There is open environment ahead of this storm, so we think it's going to hold together for a while. And you can just see how much rotation we're seeing on this storm and the sheer size of it, in addition to the threat of a tornado, which has been reported off and on for a good while. So we're still saying confirmed tornado here. Because the storm itself, not just what we're seeing visibly here, sometimes the dust will obscure it, but also what we're seeing on radar just shows the sheer magnitude of this storm. So it's 5:33 now. Let me see the latest update here from the National Weather Service. That was 3 minutes ago. Here's the latest update here at 5:33. National Weather Service notes a tornado warning remains in effect for south central Bailey and northwestern Cochran counties. At 5:32, a confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado is 4 miles southeast of Maple or 7 miles northwest of Morton, moving east at 20. This is a particularly dangerous situation, again, just to the northwest of Morton. We can see it here visibly, and also seeing what we are observing on radar. Very, very strong rotation. So this is a dangerous situation, John.
That is so true, Matt. And again, emphasizing that if you live in that general area, you need to be seeking shelter. And if you live east, southeast of that area, if you don't feel safe in your shelter, now's the time to exit to the east, not the west or northwest, or not even to the north. You would want to go to the east. Now, you might encounter this thunderstorm along 214. This may be somewhat severe with some hail, but we'll wait and see on that. It's nothing to be concerned about as much as this particular thunderstorm. It'll be interesting to see too if the rotation, look at the brighter colors there again, the brighter reds and green continues to intensify. But anyway you look at it, this is a very large and a very large and dangerous tornado making its way through that region. You can see there's a marker for you at 596. Look at the large hail there. That's where the rotation is, maybe just on the west side of that. It is just north, and you've seen that visually of 114. It is moving east and a little bit to the southeast. It's going to cross, if it continues to hold together, and it likely will, 214. The question is, how close will it be to the community of Morton? You guys in Morton are not in the tornado warning. I've just been advising you to be prepared, or if you want to be safe, go ahead and get in a safe shelter at this point. But if you're anywhere north of Morton, particularly northwest of Morton, back to the west of Morton, along 114, obviously you're going to impact down in this region along the highway some very intense winds and some low visibilities at times. But if you're going to exit away from that, you want to be going east and southeast on 114, traveling anywhere away from the rotation of this tornado. You can see, look at the hook associated with that storm. Look at the large hail that has passed through the Maple area, southwest of Phoenix, still located southeast of Maple, general boundary of where all that large hail is located, right up to about 214 at this point. Storm still south of you, Phoenix, and based on the normal track of this, it's probably, as far as the tornado, not a threat to you now, but it could become. As we look at our temperature in Lubbock, it is sitting at 87 degrees right now. We have a southeast wind at 22, maybe gusting stronger than that. Coming back to Doppler, let me mention a couple of things. Notice the thunderstorm warnings in Lee County, folks in Hobbs, Lovington, and Tatum. We know we have viewers there. Be prepared. You have some severe weather headed your way, likely some hail, high winds of 60 miles an hour or more. But again, your region, I believe, is under that tornado watch. I know the South Plains is. And then down in the Seminole area, that would affect the areas west of Seminole as they work into that region. To the north, again, tornado warning close to Morton, severe thunderstorm reaching up to near Muleshoe, but really it looks like it's just south of Muleshoe. And the biggest concern is where the rotation is, where this tornado is located at this time, moving east, maybe a little southeast. We have another merger of the storm system here to see what takes place over the next 15 or 20 minutes or so. And I'm just looking up here at National Weather Service chat. I do see a new image of the size of the tornadoes again. That's from Amarillo though, but this is the one I'm focusing on right here. Again, just north of 114, just northwest of Morton, headed for 214, this general area here, the north and northeastern areas of Cochran County. Look at the bright and green. That thing is still very intense, still rotating with a lot of strength there, and continues to make its way on a path that's east and maybe southeast just a little bit. Notice again the rotation of that storm, that tornado on the ground, Matt. That is a massive storm.
That is large, and let me know, Adam's going to call in here shortly, but you can just see the sheer size of this wedge tornado in progress. You can just tell this is a dangerous situation, and it's going to continue to cycle through. Adam, you're on this storm. It's been a monster here for a while. What are you observing from this storm, Adam?
Yeah, this storm is at a...
Yeah, go ahead,
I'll let you explain what that means. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we have
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. No, this storm has had a sustained mesocyclone since I got on it. I know Julio was on it there for a while before I was. But as now it kind of cycled down, then it had the cell merger and it's cycling back up. And it's very healthy. I know I can't get it on camera. It's just out of the range where I can turn my camera, and I'm having to watch traffic here. But over my shoulder, there have been several funnel clouds that I have seen being produced from this already. I haven't been able to see any touchdowns, but they could possibly be because I just haven't been able to turn into it. Give me a couple minutes. We'll get you another good look at the storm. But right now, folks around Morton, I'd be keeping a close eye on this. But more further down the road, as we get close to a level land, as this becomes a sustained supercell, really keep your eyes on this because it's going to start turning right a little bit more here over the next little bit, I believe.
Okay, thanks, Adam. That's Live View 1. Let's go to Live View 4 and let you know latest information in here from the National Weather Service. We have multiple vantage points here. The National Weather Service in Lubbock has issued a tornado warning for northeastern Cochran County and northwestern Hawkley County until 6:30. At 5:37, a confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado was 4 miles northwest of Morton, moving east at 30 miles per hour. Morton, you are in this tornado warning now. This is a particularly dangerous dangerous situation. This is a large tornado just outside of town. It's going to be a close call. We can see just the sheer size from the live picture here that you're seeing from the tornado right now. Let's go to the streaming computer because this will help us to isolate specifically where the tornado is moving. So the very bright reds and greens you're seeing is a pronounced tornado vorticity signature, a TVS. That's what we look for in radar if we didn't have storm chasers out there to confirm it. So radar has that. Note how it's moving more east than southeast, but it still is jogging slightly to the south. It's too close of a call from Morton, so that's why the National Weather Service, you see the polygon here, included Morton in that tornado warning for a confirmed tornado because the rotation is so close. May even be noting a second rotation a little bit farther south from the parent one. So that's the concern here, John, and that's why Morton and western parts of Hawkley County are now included in this confirmed tornado warning, John.
All right, thanks so much for the update, Matt. And again, here in the Forecast Center, we're all working together to get the latest information out so that folks will stay safe. That's the main reason we're covering up programming, covering up the newscast. We want to keep people alive. That's the goal of being a meteorologist and being in this business. So I know we're covering up a lot of viewing here, but this is an intense and a dangerous situation. This is a very large tornado. It is in the Morton area, you guys, now in the warning. There's the original tornado warning, but here's the warning now. And also it extends and includes community of Pettit, and it is tracking potentially towards Oklahoma Flat. They make it broad enough, even though they're basing it going to the southeast, that it'll go down towards Coble possibly, and possibly close to Whiteface. But at this point, it's hard to tell with it being that far west. Just want to alert you, as we did Morton, well ahead of time. Don't wait till the last minute. Now's the time for those of you, particularly in Pettit, and maybe even Oklahoma Flat, any of this region here, from Morton right along the boundaries there, both these counties. You're looking here back in Cochran County, you're looking at Hawkley County. Lamb County, you're not in the tornado warning, but I believe you are under a severe thunderstorm warning, at least west of 385, and that's primarily with some hail coming that way. Look at the hail that, again, has been south of Enix, all the way down around the Maple area, but this is the dangerous part of this intense tornado. So in Morton, you need to be in your safe area right now. Should I put up the general guide on what time those storm systems will be there from Oklahoma Flat, Lunds Chapel, Boehner, Anton, and even Roundup, but the storm is moving, it appears, towards at least the northwestern areas of Hawkley County. Adam, the meteorologist, has a good idea on the storm track. He mentioned that they may be turning a little more southeast. That's why they call these right movers many times. So still going east. If it turns a little more southeast, that would indicate that track. And again, here's another live view. You can just see the size of that. Now, the Weather Service in Lubbock is saying that Morton appears to will be okay. It would have to take a pretty good jog to the southeast to be a danger in Morton, but if I were you, I would just stay where you are. Just wait a few more minutes. That's the best thing, right, Matt?
Yeah, exactly. So latest scan, let's go back to streaming computer, and I can show you here. I was mentioning how it's moving a little bit more southeasterly, and latest update, that scan shows that strong rotation is just north of town. I mean, this is, I understand if you're in Morton, this is too close for comfort, but that latest scan still shows that rotation passing just north of town. But if you're along 214 north of town, you need to be in a place of safety because this is a destructive tornado. But you're exactly right, John, that the latest scan here on radar showing that velocity couplet staying just north of Morton.
Very interesting storm there, very dangerous storm. And again, we continue to update you here as the Weather Service updates us. And Adam and Julio, they're out chasing that storm system. And Chase, that's a gentleman that's actually with Julio. I don't give him much credit there, but I do want to give him credit there. He's been out there chasing as well. And again, Enix, there's a community located here. There's some heavy rain. There is severe part of a warning up in the Needmore area, but it looks like it's just heavy rain and high winds. Sudan, you've got some probably strong to moderate rainfall, nothing bad at all, moderate showers in Littlefield. Just keep in mind, this entire complex is just basically working its way to the east, could eventually impact Whit-Harrell, and as Chennai expands this storm system out, keep in mind it will be hopefully it will dissipate, but if it doesn't, if it continues to track, it may follow more of an east or east-southeast track, not only through Hawkley County, but in theory, this is not going to be determined just yet, but it could make its way towards Lubbock. So if you have outdoor activities or anything that may be going on in the northwest areas of Lubbock County, be aware of this for the next couple of hours. Not now. It's going to take a while to track across Hawkley County before it might impact us, but it is getting close to Lubbock County. It's obviously edging now into Hawkley County and the southwestern areas of Lamb County. The green indicating flood warning. I mentioned earlier the storm, slow movement and the intensity of the storm, plenty of moisture in place. It's dumping a lot of rainfall. And along that line, make sure you've seen a lot of people along the roadways, especially 114 and maybe even 214. You don't need to be out going to look at this tornado. You need to stay where you are. We're needing to keep things open for important traffic. I know there's a lot of chasers out there, professional and otherwise, but we don't want to add any more traffic to the roadways. We look back south, severe thunderstorms approaching Lovington. We have viewers there, we know, and in the Hobbs area. And these primarily producing, looks like hail, maybe some large hail in some areas of these thunderstorms. Looks like there might be some right there. Could be some hail with this particular thunderstorm here, well east of Artesia and back southwest of Plains. We'll keep an eye on these as well because of the hail potential and the fact that if they get into our environment here, they might become even stronger, either larger hail or maybe some tornado development. Now, hopefully that will not take place once we get on into the next hour or so. But this is a very dangerous thunderstorm here with that tornado moving through Cochran County, working its way east and southeast slowly. It looks like latest indications are north-northwest of Morton now, at least the rotation portion of that. But Morton still looks like you're in good shape. You can see, look at that indication right there along 214, that storm system. So unfortunately, Morton, you may be clear, but I'd just stay in a safe place. That's the best thing that you can do. You still see the bright colors with the intensity and speed of this storm system. This tornado working its way right across 214. If you live anywhere in that general area, you need to be seeking shelter because of the intensity of this tornado itself, the winds associated with it, the hail just north of it. And this is going to be 597, gives you kind of a marker there if you're anywhere along, and especially north of 597. And up towards the county lines of Cochran and Bailey and Lamb and Hawkley, you want to make sure that you're in a safe place. If not now, you get in there as soon as you can. That storm's going to continue to make its way through that region. There's your large hail southeast of Enix. Look at that, how close it is. South to southeast does give you an idea of, look at the large area of hail associated with the storm. And obviously it has a large tornado associated with it. So this is a massive storm system using a lot of energy, working its way to the east and possibly to the southeast. Pettit, right now you are under the tornado warning, but it continues to look like you may be okay in that area. And Coble, you're in the warning. It looks like you may be okay. When the warning was issued, and you may recall, it appeared the storm would do the typical fashion of turning southeast. Even Adam had mentioned that, but it has stayed basically on an eastward track, and it may be following, and Matt may know a little better with the data over there, along that what was somewhat of a warm front boundary drifting back to the north. That may be why it stayed on more of an east track instead of veering more to the southeast, but it could be on a track for Anton. It could be at least south of Littlefield for a threat, and maybe along 385. So all you viewers out there that live in northern Hawkley County and southern Lamb County, just be aware of that. There is a flood warning, and that's the outline of the green indicated in that particular area right now. And I'll turn to Shania and let her bring back the safety tips just as a reminder, and she'll take another look at the hail as well until we get another update here.
Yeah, for the most part, just still emphasizing that you want to be getting in the middle of the home or building that you're in. You want walls between you and the outdoors. You also don't want to be close to any type of glass, mirrors, anything that could potentially break if the tornado did make its way into the building or home that you're in right now. Also want to be at the lowest point in the home as well. So if you have a basement, of course, that's the best place to be. If not a basement, a storm shelter would be just as great as well. And then if you don't have either either one of those. You just want to be at the lowest point of the home that you can get at. Lying down would be great, sitting down, of course, and making sure that you're covering up. So keeping helmets with you, pillows, mattresses, anything to put on top of yourself. So if there is that tornado making its way through the building that you're in, you can protect yourself from the debris. A lot of deaths from tornadoes come from being hit by things that are flying due to, of course, the stronger winds that are associated with that tornadic activity. So just keep those things in mind. Think of it as getting in the center of the home, getting down to the lowest part of the home or building, and then, of course, trying to cover up as much of your body as you can. John?
All right, thanks, Shania. And again, we continue to track this storm. I know we have covered up the news tonight, but it's for safety reasons so that we can keep folks advised of this storm. It is in and around where people live. It's been close to a couple of communities, Morton, Enix, some other communities, that general area, pardon me, and a community of Maple. Still some indications of hail just to the southeast of Enix at this point, and just in the southeastern corner, looks like, of Bailey County. Some indications of a little bit of hail, and this has just developed recently, and that's an extension of the hail. Obviously, the storm is going east, so the hail now extending over a little bit, moving, looks like that's the northwest corner of Hawkley County, and there'll be some hail edging into the southeastern corner of Lamb County, so be aware of that if you live in that general area. Some fairly heavy rainfall in Beck, but again, flood warning there, severe thunderstorm warning, but not a tornado warning. Some moderate to heavy rain moving in Littlefield. You're not under the thunderstorm or tornado warning for the time being. Whit Harrow, you're not under a warning, but you are in a general path of this storm as it rotates onto the east. And notice the two storms coming together, so now's the time we'll see what happens with the overall organization with that parent storm as it merges with this particular thunderstorm. To the south, there's nothing around Morton at this point. Looks like things have cleared temporarily and the storm is gradually making its way away from you, but there's still intense rotation just east of 214, and that extends a little bit to the east. And then down around Morton, you've got probably some strong winds occurring there, and I don't see any hail. Well, the velocity I won't, but I didn't see it a few minutes ago. It looks like Morton, you guys are generally clear of that. Quite a bit of intense lightning, as you might expect, in the vicinity of that storm system. So just in the northeastern areas of Cochran County and the southeastern areas of Bailey County, they continue to extend that warning all the way down western areas and northwestern areas of Hawkley County, anywhere from northeast of Whiteface, including the community of Pettit, and then back to the north. Beck, you're in the thunderstorm warning. Tornado warning actually just ends on a county line. This is just an approximate, obviously, but anywhere from Lamb County back into Bailey County, still some intense hail there, but the rotation on the storm continues to track that way through the eastern areas and northeastern areas of Cochran County and edging into the western, northwestern areas of Hawkley County as well. Keep in mind, in addition to that, there is a tornado watch in effect, and that includes all the South Plains. It also includes Lubbock and Plainview and areas to our east and to our south. And a quick look here, Shania, click that over. That's until 10 o'clock tonight. Storms should begin decreasing in intensity, hopefully after 8 or 8:30 around sunset or so, and hopefully before that maybe a little bit. But from Snyder all the way to Seminole, there's the watch in effect. To the north, to Dimmitt, Silverton, and Childress off the Cap Rock, that's the watches in effect there as well. Obviously in effect in eastern New Mexico, but things are kind of calming down in that region. Tomorrow, we may have a similar situation coming up, another potential for strong to severe thunderstorms coming up tomorrow with some large hail, high winds, potential tornado development. So just looking ahead, you need to be aware of that if you've got outdoor activities later on tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow night. In terms of where the storm is, we're actually just waiting for new information, and we can go back to see what the Live View 1 Julio or maybe even Adam, if they're up right now, is showing with that. Again, you can still see it in the distance there, and this again giving you a view from Adam showing that storm system in the distance. He's keeping a safe distance, fortunately, but he is tracking that, and it continues to move through that region. He is relatively close to Morton, so I'm assuming he's on 114 right there on the backside of that storm system. Hard to tell. You would think it may have decreased some in intensity, and hopefully it has, but we just will have to wait and see and check on that, and Matt may have some information.
Yeah, Adam's actually right now just outside of Morton, and what are you seeing right now, Adam?
Well, I wanted to let folks know that I was just outside trying to get some video and stuff. I did hear the tornado siren still sounding in Morton. I wanted to let folks know that you're probably okay now in Morton. We're going to have to watch the very north side of the storm, but those folks that are hearing the tornado sirens, kind of worried if something's still going on, it just lets you all know that you're probably on the back side of this. I'm going to start moving my way east here, and we'll talk to you guys again here in a little bit.
Okay, thanks a lot, Adam. Let's go to live view 4 now from a different vantage point. We have 3 different live units on different sides of this storm, and it's just such a large thunderstorm that one of the issues with even trying to see this, there's so much dust being kicked up that at times when this has been a large tornado, a wedge, in other words, a large part of the tornado that is the funnel that's reaching down to the ground, it's actually going to be difficult to see it sometimes. That's sometimes how large this tornado actually has been. At this point, we actually have, like Adam just mentioned, may have seen some weakening on this storm here just over the past few minutes. So that's we have 3 different vantage points on the storm here, and what the thunderstorm is doing. Here we're back at Adam's perspective right now with the thunderstorm that's moving to the east here at about 20-25 miles per hour. We're gonna actually go back over to the streaming computer because this is what we've been using to actually observe where the rotation is. And we're still noting strong rotation, not quite as strong as what it was just a few minutes ago when it passed just north of Morton and was reported as a large tornado at that point. That's not to say that this is not rotating. This is still showing significant rotation just to the northeast of Morton. So we'll give you the heads up. If you're in northwestern Hawkley County, Whit, Harrell, and locations back to the west, you need to be watching this storm closely. And each of our units are repositioning with this storm moving east. National Weather Service just provided this update at 5:54. A tornado warning remains in effect until 6:30 for northeastern Cochrane and northwestern Hawkley counties. At 5:53, a confirmed tornado is located 4 miles northeast of Morton, moving east at 25 miles per hour. So that's where you're seeing the red and the green coming together. That strong rotation is about 4 miles northeast of Morton. It's picking up speed some now, moving east at 25 miles per hour. So if it continues like it has for a while going east, that would take it toward Whit Harrell. If it takes a little bit more of a southeasterly motion, then that could induce it to go down a little bit farther down 385, a little bit closer to Levelland. To be clear, Levelland and Whit Harrell are not in the warning right now. Just wanted to give you the heads up on where that storm is moving. John mentioned earlier where the warm front may be. It's actually 82 right now at Anton and 77 at Abernathy, 73 at Plainview. So that tells me that the warm front is probably pretty close here to about Enix, right along the county line, coming up toward Abernathy here. So that the storm will likely continue riding along that front, which is why it's probably going to continue moving from west to east. If it holds together, this would get it into across this next hour across Hawkley County. Then the following hour, during the 7 o'clock hour, would be moving into Lubbock County. This is a new development here. Note how we're actually seeing 2 different notches here, and going back to velocity, trying to see if those are 2 separate mesocyclones trying to spin up here within the large storm, or 2 circulation areas that we're watching here. So noting one rotation area right here on the Hawkley County side of the line, another one on the back side we have been watching for some time, just northeast of Morton. That would not surprise me on a day like today where there's so much shear, so much twisting of the wind in the atmosphere, for a thunderstorm to have 2 different, more defined rotation areas. But that is the storm that's still moving east here at about 20 to 25 miles per hour and still showing quite a bit of rotation. We can actually go to a live view 3, and out ahead of the storm, just watching, you can see how low the cloud bases are with the storm right here. That says Causey. We're not in, thank you for dropping that there. Let me see, that is Julio and Chase. And more than anything, there's so much wind with this storm as well. In addition to the hail core, which is right along the Bailey, Cochrane, and Lamb, Hawkley County line, potential for up to baseball-size hail. So, John, this storm is still maintaining its strength. At least maybe the rotation is not quite as strong as just a few minutes ago, but still the warning mentions confirmed tornado here, approaching the 4-county of Bailey, Cochran, Lamb, Hawkley. And now you can see, once again, we're seeing right there yet again another funnel, and see how there's the dust at the ground. So tornado is forming once again, and this actually may be a second rotation area out ahead of where the funnel earlier, a little bit farther back to the left, trying to reorient ourselves right here. But you can see the dust being lofted. So once again, another tornado is forming live right here on this thunderstorm northeast of Morton, and this is why the tornado warning remains in effect, because this is the kind of storm that is going to cycle through like this and continue to produce a tornado or potentially multiple tornadoes from this storm. So you just are noting at the bottom of the screen that dust that's coming up right there. That's a sign, yet again, of this storm producing a tornado, John. So, I mean, this is well organized and no real signs of it weakening here anytime as of late.
All right, thanks so much for that, Matt. And again, I know we have some viewers that are maybe just joining us now for the news, and we're broadcasting obviously with the tornado on the ground again. This intense storm system originated up in northeast New Mexico, west of Bailey County. Has been tracking east, a little bit southeast. Fortunately, it stayed in the northern areas of Cochran County. It did approach Morton, but no indications of any issues there earlier. Continues to make its way on to the east. The new circulation that Matt was talking about, again, is about 14 miles west of Harrell, and it is moving to the east, so that indicates you're red and green. They're getting a little brighter. We'll be watching for that overall rotation. If you live in a Pettit area, you need to be in a safe spot at this point. You may not have to bundle up for shelter because you can see a general east, not much of a southeast track on that, but you are still in the warning area. And further south, Whiteface, I think you can relax a little bit. Coble as well. Morton, things are improving there. Obviously, you're on the backside, but this storm system, as it tracks through here, has produced some very large hail, baseball, maybe even up to softball size. So you see that general area there. That is where the hail is located, northwest areas of Hawkley County. So if you live in this general area, Pettit, just be alert, but especially north and northwestern areas of Hawkley County. On to the east. Now, the warning does not include Whitharrell, does not include Levelland, Whiteface at this point. It does include Pettit. General Track and Shania had added that so you can see. For those of you in Oklahoma Flat, Lums Chapel, Boehner, even Anton, Roundup, and even Shallow Water, we're trying to track ahead, and I'm going to step back because here's the city of Lubbock where we are now. So the track of this storm, as strong as the storm is, could potentially take it all the way across Hawkley County, pending any changes, and maybe even into at least northwestern areas of Lubbock County, with some cities scattered along the way. There are a greater population there. Then it's also, fortunately, it looks like it will stay south of Littlefield. I know there's moderate to heavy rainfall there, and in fact, the warning doesn't include Littlefield. Right now, it doesn't include Lums Chapel, but you guys are in the general path of this storm, so you need to remain alert. Keep that First Alert weather app with you there and continue to view us, if you will. And again, let's take another live unit here and we'll show you what's going on. I think Matt's got info.
Yeah, and this is Julio and Chase. They are just leaving Morton, looking off to the east. And once again, you can see the lowering of the storm, still seeing the rotation with it. So all signs point to it still producing a tornado at the moment. Just the sheer size of the storm, even looking from the backside of it, back west of the storm looking east, you can just see the sheer size of how large this storm is. And so we have multiple, visual confirmations from different sides of the storm. And also what we're seeing on radar here at 6:02, a tornado warning remains in effect until 6:30 for northeastern Cochran and northwestern Hawkley counties. This is from the National Weather Service. At 6 o'clock, a confirmed tornado was located 4 miles southwest of Pep, or 8 miles east of Morton, moving east at 30 miles per hour. This new circulation has also developed east of the decaying circulation just northeast of Morton. That's what we'll see sometimes with storms like this. sometimes you'll have the rotation diminish and the storm falls apart. But on a day like today, where there's so much energy available ahead of this storm and so much twisting of the wind, this will be a storm that can cycle one rotation for one part of the storm, then another part can cycle back up. Damaging tornado and up to 3-inch hail are the threats with this storm. So again, that tornado warning continues until 6:30. The storm itself will remain over mainly rural areas of northeastern Cochrane and northwestern Hawkley counties, but the reason we're concerned is it is eventually going to get close to Whit-Harrell, and if you live west of Whit-Harrell in northwestern Hawkley County, you need to be keeping a close eye on this storm. So again, this is the perspective from coming out of Morton on 114 just east of town as the storm is moving that direction. Now let's take a look from a couple of perspectives here. Adam is just a little bit farther south. We have 3 different units on this supercell thunderstorm out over the western South Plains. If you're in Lubbock just tuning in, this is west of us. Lubbock is not under a warning, but this storm is moving east toward the central South Plains. So we have these 2 different vantage points right here from meteorologist Adam Young on the southern edge, and then Julio and Chase on the western edge of this storm. Let's go back to live view 4 and show our 3rd perspective on this storm. Here from our 3rd crew, which has noticed the signals dropped out just a little bit here, but again, they are edging here in northwestern Hawkley County and have been noting significant rotation with it. So John, this is still a storm that the last couple of scans Shania will show on the radar here, the hook echoes actually returned once again, unfortunately. So John, this is still a storm that is showing signs of maintaining its strength over the next little while. Tornado warning continues until 6:30 for northwestern Hawkley County.
That is right, Matt, and thanks for that update. And again, a little difficult to see this now, pixelization, but we're going to show you on radar so you get a better idea. Now, here's Whit-Harrell. You're not under the warning at this point. You're not under the thunderstorm warning, but you're a good reference point, and the Weather Service is using that. Looks like the latest rotation and potential tornado developing is about 14 miles roughly west of Whit-Harrell. So you look to the west, here's where the warning is. This is Pettit, so if you're in Pettit, you need to remain in your safe shelter. The storm is still very close to you. You can see the bright red and again blue and green intensification with this storm system. See the hook indicated there, and follow the area of hail extending all the way up to southern areas. Looks like that's Lamb County, all the way back around. There may be anywhere baseball or even softball size hail. Looks like there's enough dust around that storm. One of the viewers or one of the chasers saying it's somewhat obscured by dust, makes it very difficult to see. So there has been obviously strong winds with this storm, very intense rainfall, flood warning in effect for northern areas of Hawkley County by Cochrane County and extending up into Lamb County. So if you live in those general areas, there's going to be some intense rainfall still occurring along the path of the storm, even behind it, that's going to cause some flooding issues at least for several hours. Now here's Farmer Market Road 303. Trying to give you a marker. Notice the typical hook there and gives you an idea. It looks like State Road, maybe it's North State Road. Farmer Market Road 597 from Oklahoma Flat. Likely some large hail for you guys in Oklahoma Flat, so I hope you have everything brought in or protected best you can, but remain alert, not in addition to the hail, but not so much for that as the fact that the tornado warning just to your west, the storm is still tracking in your general area, so you need to be on alert. You may need to seek shelter, as Pettit folks may be doing at this time. Hopefully that storm will not swing southeast. Sometimes these will go east. This storm has gone east and then it's turned a little bit southeast earlier. It originated over in eastern New Mexico. Very common for these to become a right mover. As the storm tracks along to the east, it will turn a little bit more, and maybe in some cases will end up on a southeast track. So it's not unusual for them to be called a right mover, but extending through this northern area here of Hawkley County, still the extreme northeastern areas of Cochrane County, still under that tornado warning. Still some large hail there, by the way, with the general attraction. I'm putting that on there. Oklahoma Flat, Whit-Harrell, these are just some of the communities that could be in the path, and you're really in the path of where the hail is occurring, and based on the current track, you're in the path of this storm system because it may veer a little bit southeast. As it does, there'll be several communities along the way, all the way over to Roundup, and maybe even shallow water, that as that storm most likely will move into Lubbock, not necessarily saying it will, but based on the track, it is held together well. We've got the moisture, we got the support, the intensity with the storm itself. We'll continue to take it as it goes to the east and maybe a little bit to the southeast. And a moderate heavy rainfall, a little field, nothing around White Flat, looks like Whiteface, pardon me. Morton, there may be a little bit of wraparound and a shower developing near you, but that's not really what we're concerned with. This is a concerning area with this particular thunderstorm and with this tornado. We're continuing to work their way to the east. It looks like, let's see, dust. I'm looking at a report here, reading the National Weather Service chat line. Says that he is 7 miles east of Morton, and looks like the rotation indicated maybe northeast of him, just to give a little bit of an idea of where he is, but it's still showing that on the radar here. You can see the overall rotation and the hook with that, the hail area here. Now they just modified the tornado warning, still in effect. They did not include Oklahoma Flat at this particular time, but notice the large hail just along these farm to market roads that carry you over to Oklahoma Flat and also north and back northwest of Pettit. And this gives you a great indication here with your red inflow and the rotation of those winds around that storm system here, the green and the red in general, just to show that. See how the storm, Shania is giving you a motion indicator there. See how it's gone from east and now a little bit southeast. Notice the east, and now it's going to be more southeast, becoming more of a right mover. So if you're in Pettit, you definitely need to remain in your safe shelter. We mentioned it several times the last couple of hours that we've been off and on since we started broadcasting around 4 or so with some initial thunderstorm warnings. But Shania, I'll ask you to pull up the safety tips if you'd like, and we'll refresh people's memories since that storm system is moving into some of the areas where there's newer viewers now seeing.
Yeah, if you're in the community of Pettit, you definitely want to make sure that you are in the middle of your home or building. Wherever you are right now, you want to stay stationary. You do not want to go outside, get in a car, or anything like that. Stay exactly where you are and get into the middle of that building. Of course, if you have a basement or a storm shelter, that would be an even better option. But if you don't have access to those things, you just want to stay within the middle of the home or building. Stay away from the windows and stay away from any glass. If the tornado does, unfortunately, come through that building, it will be throwing those glass shards around. So you just want to avoid being close to those areas. You want to be near walls. Get walls between you and the outdoors. And then of course you want to get down, being at the lowest point. Like I said, that storm shelter or a basement would be best, but if you don't have those, you want to be in the center of the home and at the lowest point within the home or the building. And then of course just covering yourself up, making sure that if there is flying debris that you're protecting yourself using pillows, blankets, mattresses, anything like that to put on top of yourself. Protect your head, protect all the parts of your body really if you can, because that flying debris is normally what causes a lot of injury at the time, and of course potentially even some of those tornado related deaths are from that debris. So just making sure that you're protecting all parts of your body, especially your head. If you have a helmet, that would be great, but also putting a mattress or something fairly large on top of you to cover you and prevent any of that debris from injuring yourself. John?
Thanks so much, Shania. Again, the main thing is to take the action immediately and not wait too long. You want to do this before the storm gets to you, so that means you need to be doing it right now to community in Pettit. I would advise you to go ahead and at least be doing that in Oklahoma Flat as well. Get in those safe areas. Remember to take your phone, but make sure you got a little portable charger with you, maybe a flashlight, and those key items to keep you safe from the debris. That's the idea. If you're going to a cellar that is outside, you definitely want to be going there now and get underground. Just ride the storm out and then you can come back out. Don't wait too late. A lot of times the debris and the strong winds and the chasers are reporting the fact that it's very difficult to figure out exact where this tornado is because of the fact blowing dust and very low visibility for that. You got the intense rainfall and you have the blowing dust making its way through that area around that rotation of where the tornado is. So it makes it even more difficult to exactly pinpoint where, if it's touching down now or if it's gone back up or if it's moved to another area, maybe a little further east and southeast. A lot of large hail indicated on our radar here all the way down, not quite so large in the Pettit area, but that is tracking its way east. So if you live west of 385, you're south of Lum's Chapel, and you're west and even northwest of Whitehall. Obviously, you have the hail, but more importantly, you have the tornado threat with that. A lot of lightning, as you might anticipate with an intense thunderstorm this size making its way through that region. It continues to track on to the east. Some of the lightning strikes again as far south as north of Levelland. And as far as the Levelland, you guys, the storm right now for folks, our viewers in Levelland and even Coble, is still well to your north. Not really a threat to you. This is a threat more to the northern areas of Hawkley County, a little bit to the southern areas of Lamb County. I mean, the storm could drift to the north, but the track of these is generally going to be east or more likely to the southeast. So it's a slight threat. It can move up into Lamb County, but it's more of a threat that it could come southeast. That's why your polygon here indicates that, you know, you have a warning to your west. You're not in a danger area right now, but the next warning that comes out, if it modifies and changes more southeast, then those of you in Levelland may have to think more about getting in a safe area. You don't have to do that now. I wouldn't advise doing that in Smyre. Shallow water, you have enough time not to do it, but just be aware of the storm. Anywhere from shallow water back to Anton along Highway 84, and then up in the Littlefield area, there could be a potential moderate to heavy rainfall there. That may be a little stronger if that storm continues to stay intense as it moves through Littlefield. Behind that, the flood warning still in effect. Cochran County, northern Cochran County and parts of Bailey County. You can see some showers developing behind that system north of Morton. Those are not severe. There's a warning well north, looks like the Clovis area. Several warnings here with these thunderstorms that are slowly making their way through Lee County, New Mexico. And again, they do have the potential primarily down in that area of large hail, very heavy rainfall, and some strong winds, and enough rainfall to cause some flash flooding at least, maybe in the Hobbs area, maybe along the Highway 180 as it comes over. And these will eventually work their way, most likely, into the areas of Yoakum County and maybe even Gaines County. A little bit of rain in that now. These are not tornadic at this point. The National Weather Service in Midland watching those very closely. Now we're looking for the National Weather Service as of 6:13 a couple minutes ago, saying potentially tornadic circulation 12 miles west of Whitehall. In other words, potentially a tornado there. West of Whitehall, it is now moving east and doing a little bit of the right mover stuff. It is going east-southeast, and again, very intense storm still there. Notice the swing around the hook there. Looks like some of that is very close to the community of Pettit. Further east, you can see that storm would be potentially headed for Whitehall and right along 385, still just to the north of Levelland. Flood warning continues in effect here. I will mention for those of you that are in a safe area, if you have video or can get video or photos without going anywhere near this storm system, please upload those to kcbd.com/first alert. And that's not your number one priority, but if you had a chance, we will share those with viewers a little later on, or if it's pertinent information to what's going on now, we would appreciate that. So that's kcbd.com/first alert. We continue to cover up in the newscast. Obviously, for safety reasons, we want folks to know this storm is still dangerous. It is tracking through the northwestern areas of Hawkley County. It has made its way out of Cochran County. Not really a threat to the areas of Lamb County. Let's see now, an update from the National Weather Service from their chat indicating storm is moving more southeast. Looks like it has weakened some, and it's actually about 11 miles now northwest of Levelland. So it does give you an idea of that. And here's the community of Pettit, so it's right in that general area of where Pettit is. So circulation moving southeast has weakened a little bit. You can see the view here. We've got our two chasers out there. Sorry, I didn't hear you, producer. This is Adam, okay, out on 114, I'm assuming, rolling in through Hawkley County at this point, so given a vantage point, but they're very far from the storm at this particular time. There's just not a lot of roads that way, plus we want them to stay safe, and they will stay safe, and he's going to pull off on the side possibly of the road there, but again, you can see, again, the storm in the distance. At this particular shot, can't see a whole lot of definition with it, but at least you get an idea. Matt?
Yeah, let's go back to the streaming computer to show what is moving with this thunderstorm. This steps us back to 5:59 when we were seeing, when we had the confirmed tornado here. And note how the green and the red right next to each other, very tight couplet there. We moved this ahead to the current time here at 6:17. This last scan was at 6:17. And the red and the green is not nearly as tight together. In fact, looks like the storm may have kicked out some really strong wind on the far southern extent of it, just northwest of Levelland. We can go back to what you normally see with the radar presentation. It still has a hook echo, but what I'm showing here is that it may have kicked out and become outflow dominant, maybe for just a few minutes, to kick out a little bit more wind and not be quite as tight of a rotation. But that doesn't mean that the storm is just falling apart or anything like that. It's at least a better sign from what we had here, where there was the that yellow triangle right there showing a tornadic vorticity signature, real tight couplet right there. It's actually opened up a little bit. That's better news, but this is still a dangerous storm, so don't want to try to, ease up saying this is not a significant storm. It is still a significant storm, but over the past couple of minutes, we have seen it, at least the rotation kind of broaden just a little bit. So it is still a major storm, but we can hope that this storm will continue to weaken. But I bet it's still probably going to be producing some really large hail. Have we had any recent reports, Shania, on just what the hail has looked like?
Yeah, we have. We actually just got one looking at 3.3 inches and a quarter in diameter, 4 miles southwest of Pep is what they use. So I don't know if they're trying.
Yeah, that's community there in northwestern Hawkley County. That is large hail. I mean, bigger than baseball size hail. Yeah,
that's one of the ones that we got, and then earlier, I think the last one that we had for the community of Pettit was still looking at that golf ball size hail, ping pong size hail. Oh no, this one earlier. This one, I mean, was still probably about 30 minutes ago, but they did increase it to softballs earlier, but then of course they did wind up decreasing that once we got that updated tornado warning. So now this most latest one that we got is the 3 inches and a quarter, 4 miles southwest of Pep.
We can go back to live view 1 here, and Adam mentioned he's now in Whiteface and scanning back to the left here, and Julio is also mentioning how it does look like the storm is building farther back to the west. There is actually rainfall going farther back west, all the way back into across much of Cochran County right now, but the actual core of itself, the most concerning part, is just northeast of Whiteface. So you can see Adam has a close perspective on that thunderstorm right there. And we can take a look at both of these thunderstorms right here. So both Julio and Adam, and again, Adam is there in Whiteface looking at this storm, and still has a really impressive storm structure. So this is why we're concerned with it moving across Hawkley County. At least it's better news that over the last few minutes, we're not seeing quite as strong of rotation. But that said, it was incredible rotation that we were seeing on radar and what the storm chasers were observing with this storm. So it still has significant rotation with it. These are two of the perspectives. Let's go to live view 4 and show you our third perspective on this storm. They're riding just ahead of it. A lot of dust, and that's something else that the chasers have reported, is trying to just see the sheer size, sheer scope of this when it has been a larger tornado. It's difficult because of how much dust is being kicked up into the storm. So those are some of the perspectives that we have, and the storm certainly has been kicking up a whole lot of dust in addition to the strong wind, and still bringing that potential for the tornado to continue as it's moving east, southeast. At least over the last few minutes, we're not seeing quite the same organization as we did a little while earlier, John. So that's at least some better news, but still a storm that we need to keep a close eye on.
That is so true, Matt. And again, we continue. I know we're coming up the newscast, but we're just doing this to keep everyone informed of this storm, to keep you safe. It has produced tornadoes several times from New Mexico into parts of Cochran County and areas, even parts of Cochran County and in north of Morton. And you can see the storm track there. There's still that warning, obviously, on that storm system. And we fortunately got a couple of chase units out there watching very closely. Julio, as well as Adam, and also a unit from KFDA keeping a close eye on that storm. To the north, moderate heavy heavy rainfall. The warning as far as thunderstorm warning, the yellow out boundary there, doesn't include Littlefield. The severe part of the storm is further south, northern areas of Hawkley County, edging out of Cochran County. But as the Weather Service mentioned, and Julio and even that storm has built back into the southern areas of Bailey County. Weather Service will watch that closely. Nothing severe with this, maybe some gusty winds, some moderate to heavy rainfall. There will be some lightning. We'll watch to see if there's any intensification for that. The main issue continues to be where you see the hook, where the rotation has been, the part of the storm where the tornadoes have touched down a couple of times throughout the region as they've tracked east and southeast. And general area, it looks like that storm's gradually moving away from Pettit at this point. Still not a threat to level land unless it swings more south at this point. It is a threat to wind harrow, so you need to be in the safe areas, as Shania mentioned a few minutes ago. Make sure you're taking that action now, that you don't delay it. And you've got some moderate rain coming your way. The storm obviously could be a threat to you, but it looks like it's tracking a little further south of that. But Lums Chapel, you've got some hail that may impact you. Still some hail associated with the storm well to the west of 385. It is working its way into the areas of Hawkley County. You see the larger size hail Shania was referring to a little bit earlier, and Matt as well. Overall, the storm will continue to move through Hawkley County. Residents here in Lubbock County, you'll begin to see the storm. If you're looking outside, you see the clouds already. But again, it may make its way into Lubbock County. Looks like we're going to see a new warning coming from the National Weather Service because of the history of tornadoes over Hawkley County. They're going to try to leave Lubbock County out of the tornado warning for the time being. So it's probably going to be in this same general area. It looks like the track with the polygon will likely be east to southeast, but we'll wait. That means the Weather Service will have that coming out very shortly. We do have a couple other strong to severe storms. We might expand the view out there, Shania. We can show folks back to our west and northwest a few stronger storms there. Back up further north of Muleshoe, there's a warning just north of you up in the Palmer County area. Very intense thunderstorm located here, tracking east of Clovis. Looks like it may impact Freona on that track, although Freona is not in the warning. Muleshoe, you're not in the warning, but it does cover the southern areas of Palmer County. It does include Clovis. Still some moderate heavy rainfall there. Indications of some large hail and maybe some strong winds with that storm as it tracks from Farwell towards Bobina, maybe eventually towards Lasbuddy. This is a severe thunderstorm warning reaching from New Mexico into the southern areas of Palmer County. Then further south, we showed you the activity in Lee County a little bit earlier. Just so folks down in the Yoakum County area and Gaines County, you're aware there's severe thunderstorms that could be moving into your area during the next 30 to 45 minutes. No tornadoes associated with these, but there's indications of some hail with these that may be large. Thunderstorm warnings in effect there. Mountain Daylight Time 5:45. Some hail indicated south of Tatum, New Mexico. That may impact Tatum. And then Hobbs, there's a moderate to heavy thunderstorm into the severe category. Actually kind of splits part of Hobbs, maybe the western area of that city is under the warning with that. Probably looking at some hail potential there, maybe some winds up to 60 miles an hour as it moves generally. Both of these, notice, are moving generally northeast, so that will likely bring them into the areas of Yoakum County and Gaines County. Appear to be very slow movers. They're just making their way across Lee County, approaching those areas right now. They really haven't had much success getting into Gaines County, but likely some of that activity will move over into that region. Quite a few small communities, as you can see, and if it holds together, it might eventually bring some rain towards Brownfield. Obviously a little better chance for a Hobbs at this point in Denver City, Plains, maybe even Tokyo as it moves in. Eventually it might even bring some rain if they hold together to level land. They move into that region. Hopefully by then they will not be severe, but we still have tornado watch in effect. That tornado watch in effect for all of the South Plains from our southern counties, Seminole and Gaines to Snyder, all the way up to the areas of Silverton and Childress. There's no activity in this area, nothing really around Lubbock yet, further north of Plainview, just that activity up in Palmer County, and then again some activity approaching western areas of Gaines County, nothing around Lamesa or Snyder, but obviously all of our region is under a tornado watch at this particular time. We still have the one tornado warning. We're waiting for the Lubbock National Weather Service to see where their new tornado warning structure will be laid out as this storm continues to track to the east. But just to emphasize for folks, I know we have viewers up to our north in Shallow Water and in the Anton community and along Highway 84 and even Abernathy potentially, but there's your new warning. So this is the current warning that'll be expiring This is the new warning south of Littlefield still, but it extends over. It does include the Anton community. It does go down. It does include the Smyre community. It may include, I guess you could consider maybe the northeastern areas of Levelland in Hawkley County. That storm swinging a little more southeast, building southeast. It's also still building back to its west. You can see that rotation. Still some of that hail moving out with that rotation, but you can see here just some moderate to heavy rainfall on the backside, maybe intense. Still some rainfall that'll add to the flood warning that's occurring there. Some moderate showers in the morning in the Morton area, pardon me. The warning, by the way, as far as thunderstorm, doesn't include Levelland, and a tornado doesn't really include the core of Levelland, but it is northeast of that community. So what this warning may trigger some alarms in these smaller counties at this point, in these smaller cities, I should say, in the county. So if they go off now, they may go off because a tornado warning was issued for your community. But you can see the actual concern is with the rotation of that. See how it's going more southeast? It is now a right mover, making its way along 385, just north of Levelland. So this is the area of concern here with the rotation between the color gradients of red and green. See that rotation there coming all the way down. So anywhere between Whitehall to north of Levelland, this is the danger area potentially for the tornado. And we got Adam again near Whitehall, generally east of this storm system. We also have Julio out in that area. I'll step back so you can a little bit better here for the locations there north of Whiteface and in Cochran County, and then also chasing along 114. This is going to be east of Whiteface here. So we're watching the storm from all angles. Also, we have a chase unit from KFDA that's down here helping to watch over this storm. And Adam is in Levelland. Thanks, producer just told me that. And again, you can see his unit. This is his with a little adapter here. So again, he is in Levelland, staying north. And if you look, there's the storm itself. There's the structure of the storm. Still north of Levelland, not a direct threat. But again, just the northeast areas were included in that tornado warning. Should this storm continue on a southeast track, it might impact that portion of Hawkley County and maybe some areas around Levelland if it stays on its track. So it's still well to your north and northwest. So at this point, it continues to track our way. They did not put a warning up for Lubbock just yet. Obviously, they're going to wait until it gets a little bit closer. Then we'll have an idea of how that storm, if it impacts Lubbock County, continues to hold together. It's tracking generally east and maybe a little bit southeast of Lum's Chapel. You just should remain alert, but I think you're generally safe, but you are still within the tornado warning. You know, you have to keep in mind the storm has been tracking east, and it was southeast, and it stayed a little more east. Now it's going back to the southeast once again. Matt?
Something else, if we can go to the streaming computer, is the warning shows it now moving east at about 35 miles per hour. So this is the typical radar presentation you're used to, the reflectivity, which is showing where the heavy rainfall is. See how it's moving a little bit more southeasterly. I want to show what the velocity return is showing. And a few minutes ago, I'd mentioned how the couplet was not as tight, but that probably wouldn't last. Well, that has changed. I'm stepping backwards in time now here. We'll go to, this is at 6:02. Still had a pretty tight couplet, then it started to open up just a bit, kind of spread out. But note how the green is getting brighter and you're seeing it kind of swirl back around. See how the green and the red is coming back tighter once again. So this potential tornado, again, we don't have a visual confirmation of one, but the dust may be obscuring it. This tornado would be passing right now just southwest of Whitehall. So this is why everyone in Whitehall needs to be in a place of safety. And it's just north of Levelland. Levelland is not included in the tornado warning, but compared to what we saw just a few minutes ago, where it was kind of broader, still had the bright green, still dangerous obviously, but as we move ahead to the latest scan here, we're noting much stronger, much tighter rotation noted here at the base, and as we go up higher into the storm as well. Noting very significant rotation with this storm, and on its path right now, that rotation could eventually get towards Smyre, eventually crossing over 114 at that point. But that's the latest that we've seen here over the past couple of scans, John, is that at this point, it's showing some really, really strong rotation, and there's the potential here that there's the rain falling around it where we can't see it. It's not just the dust, but the rain wrapping this tornado. So based on what I see on radar here, I would think at this point that it is producing a tornado once again. So we're seeing the strong hook echo right here. and then on velocity right here, where you see the red and the green coming very tightly right here. This is unfortunately the sign of it likely producing a tornado once again. John?
All right, Matt, yeah, it does definitely look like it's intensifying, and it looks like there's one of the chasers out there says it's completely rain wrapped potentially once again. So you have the rain and the dust, so spotters have a very difficult time of pinpointing where that core of rotation may be, so that adds the complicating factor there. Looks like the National Weather Service is saying level land is obviously not going to be included in the warning because it's just northeast right now. It's not in the warning, but looks like they will be clear of the storm. Now that's the National Weather Service saying that. I mentioned that maybe it could get close to the northeastern areas around level land, but it looks like the city itself again will stay clear of that based on the track that is occurring right now. But for folks in Whitehall, obviously you need to be in your safe shelter right now. You need to be inside a building. You need to have some walls around you. You need to be in a basement. If you're going to a cellar, KFDA, all right, we're taking a look at this. This is one from Amarillo. I'm going to step back a little bit in case we can see this a little bit better, but they're down here. They started chasing this in the Clovis area. They're our sister station up in Amarillo. We appreciate them sharing their video with us, and you still see the intensity of the red tightening up as Adam had indicated, Matt had indicated on the velocity there, but here's what it looks like as far as viewing it, and you can imagine trying to pinpoint where that storm is between the dust and the rainfall, particularly the dust, but it does look like it's a very large tornado. Once again, a considerable level according to the National Weather Service, and that means this is definitely a strong and large tornado making its way down through Hawkley County.
Yeah, that says Cochran. This is actually Hawkley County.
Yeah, Hawkley County. Yeah. Sorry there.
No, you were, I just want to make sure we had the graphic up there for a second. It's moving so fast, takes a moment to get the graphics updated, but like you had said, John, you had mentioned it that it was Hawkley County.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. I saw it pop up and then it was gone quickly there. But again, considerable tornado warning. That's officially how they phrase it from the National Weather Service. Any way you look at it, dangerous storm system moving through that area of Hawkley County. And if we look down, you see some traffic. I believe we've got now, this is Adam probably over in Level End watching things closely. Here's Whiteface. Here's the Cochran County area watching these storm systems. I believe this is probably Julio. And again, down in the areas of Cochran County. So we're watching this from as close as we can get to be safe. The idea is to keep our trackers safe, and that we want it to stay that way, but we want to relay the best information, best visuals that we can get. We do want you to take shelter when these storms include tornado warnings for your area, and you recognize that area from Level Land. So Adam's making his way generally east a little bit. So very intense storm. It continues to track through Hawkley County. It appears to be tracking towards Lubbock County. I don't want to scare anybody, but I just want to make you aware of that. We have mentioned that several times during the last hour or so. So this storm, if it continues to hold together, will likely make its way into Lubbock County. That doesn't mean the city of Lubbock, but that means into Lubbock County. And we've mentioned earlier Anton and shallow water, those areas you guys could be in the danger area if it continues. Now we're going back to Max to show you the storm, and look at the rotation again right around the Whitehall area. You can see the large hail just west of 385. This is your boundary for the tornado warning as it comes right up to Lubbock County. I mentioned Anton earlier. The storm may be a little bit to your south and southwest. If it stays in that area, you're not in such a threat if it stays in that position. Shallow water, you may be more in a threat if it stays in that position, if it continues on this track. And that's if it stays this intense. It has weakened several times and not been quite so strong. And then it's intensified again. That's what's taking place at the current time. And that storm continues to be very dangerous along 385 north of Level Land. It appears Level Land, you guys are in good shape. That means Opie Dyke, you're probably in good shape as well. For Smire, we just have to wait and see how the storm track, if it takes more of a southeast or if it takes a general east-southeast. Now, I know we have to be kind of general here, but that's just because of the fact the storm has changed positions a little bit and tracks along the way. So we're just trying to give broad coverage, I am, so that you stay safe if you're anywhere within that tornado warning. Latest information here, a tornado is spotted north of Level Land by about 5 miles, and that's from the Hawkley County Texas there, obviously, and that's Cole over in Hawkley County. Keep an eye on that storm. So that means we've got Farm to Market Road 1294 here. Here is 385. You can see that rotation there. Notice how it extends along 1294 going to the east. And looks like this may be Farm to Market Road 168. And this is still north of Opie Dyke West. There's your rotation. Storm has intensified again. In other words, it is producing a tornado. Looks like approximately 5 miles north of Levelland. Doesn't appear to be a threat to Levelland down in that community along 114, but anywhere northeast of that, all the way up to around 1294, and then further north up into the northern areas of Hawkley County. That's where the danger is located at this point. Some hail back to the west and even southwest of 385. That's well south of Lum's Chapel. That storm is tracking eastward. Notice the large area of hail with the storm, and notice the intensity here, possibly 1, and I'm just estimating maybe 1 to 3 inch size hail, if not larger, with the fact the storm is intensifying. If it stays that area, that means that hail may impact you in Anton, but as far as the actual rotation, hopefully that will stay more south, and hopefully it is clear of the Whit Herald area, but if not, you need to be in your safe shelter at this point. Smire, you need to stay prepared to seek safe shelter. I don't think you have to go immediately, but we will keep you up to date so you can go well before that storm system gets close to you. Shallow water, our viewers there along 84, you need to be thinking about where you may want to go for a safe shelter should this storm continue on this current track. So the latest information, now this was at 6:35, tornado spotted north of Levelland, and that was from Cole Kirkland in Hawkley County, and he's with emergency management there. And then also the storm had intensified, at least as of 6:34. It was considered a considerable tornado warning, and considerable intensity and danger with this thunderstorm, particularly with this tornado. Still some areas of rain behind that system where the flood warning is in effect. This reaches over, looks like a shower in the Morton area, some showers north of Whiteface and Coble. These at this particular time are not severe at all. The other severe storms are down the area as well, southeast. Moderate to heavy rainfall in Littlefield along 385, maybe up close to Spring Lake, more likely near the Olton community. Abernathy, you're probably far enough north unless there's a significant change in the direction of the storm for this system not to impact you, but the track of the storm working its way towards the shallow water area and north of Smire in this general area. And so it looks like it's, according to the National Weather Service, Justin out there, strong circulation 11 miles northwest of Smire, moving to the east. Once again, Matt.
Let's go to Live View 4. We have the crew here on FM 1294 in Hawkley County, and I believe even though there's quite a bit of dust, I think we can make out the tornado right here, and you can see the sheer size of it and the strength. Based on what we're seeing here, looks like a sizable tornado at this point. It's about 11 miles northwest of Smire. So again, we always want to let you know where we can clear the threat and where the threat is still present. So Levelland is not in the path of this tornado. To reorient, let's go quickly back to Max 2 because I want to show you where this is in relation to Lubbock, in relation to Levelland. Again, the storm is moving east, more easterly in the last few scans at about 25-30 miles per hour. They're on 1294, which is northeast of Levelland, northwest of Smire. 1294 is popping up right there. Let's go back to the Live View 4 picture now. Just want to show where they are looking from, back to the northwest. And you can see the tornado right there. Still, it appears at this point there's so much dust and so much rain wrapping around it, it makes it difficult to exactly see it. But what we're seeing from multiple vantage points that we have our units kind of on each side of this storm, in addition to what we're seeing with what the radar return is showing us, that shows that this storm has strengthened here. That's the perspective from 1294. Let's now go to a Live View 3, and this is off of 1490, back on the west side of the storm, looking to the east. Chase and Julio are watching the perspective right here, kind of on the backside of the storm. And then Live View 1, Adam is close to Smire. He's going down 114. You can see right there. He's going to get positioned just a little bit farther ahead of the storm to keep a closer perspective as it moves into eastern parts of Hawkley County. But Live View 4 shows the closest perspective right now. with that strong rotation noted about 10, 11 miles northwest of Smyre. Now, on the current trajectory, that would actually keep potentially, it may pass just north of Smyre, but it's going to be close. And certainly the farther east we go into Hawkley County, it becomes more populated even outside of towns. The Friendship School District actually expands into Hawkley County. There are homes, right there up to the county line. So this tornado is moving into a more populated area here, or if it continues on its track, I want to be clear, it would be moving closer to there into eastern parts of Hawkley County. So the tornado warning continues until 7:30, or I'm sorry, here until 7 o'clock for central and eastern parts of Hawkley County. At 6:37, a confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado was near Whit-Harrell, or 7 miles north of Levelland, moving southeast at 25 miles per hour. You can see our 3 different vantage points that we have right here. Big credit to Dimitri, Bailey, the whole crew in back who's coordinating all this different stuff. Let's go to live view 4 to show you. This is the closest perspective that we have on the tornado right now. Again, this is back to the northwest of Smyre. We're looking off of 1294 right now, and the sheer size of that storm, it's going to be crossing pretty close to a 168 here, which runs north-south as it's crossing over 1294. So they're on 1294 right now. That thunderstorm is moving east, still at about 25, 30 miles per hour. Still at this point, it's really difficult with the dust that's being kicked up to know for sure if it's all the way down to the ground. And at least we can go to the streaming computer and I can show you that there definitely is very, very strong wind with this storm, but we're not seeing quite the same tight red and green come together when it was crossing just north of Levelland there. Last few scans, the rotation may have gotten broader very slightly. I mean, this is still a dangerous storm. There's still very strong rotation noted here, but the last scan may not be quite as tight. But this is still definitely a really dangerous storm. And note how that hook may have come kind of kicked back around just a bit. It's probably recycling though. So John, just wanted to point that out, that we've got the 3 different units closely watching the storm. The closest one right there off of 1294. With that strong rotation noted just to the southeast of Whit-Harrell, northwest of Smyre. And it's moving east at about 30 miles per hour. John?
All right, thanks, Matt. Yeah, great overall explanation there of this storm system. And you can see along 1294, I do want to mention Weather Service just reports a semi-trailer rolled by a tornado south of Whit-Harrell. So that's a report in there about 2 miles south of Whit-Harrell. Obviously, as we have more information on that, we can let you know. But this is Whit-Harrell, so we're assuming it's in this general area just south of Whit-Harrell, and that's where the storm is. Not a threat to Levelland at this point, but it is along the 1994, I believe that was, the road it reaches through there. To expand this out just a little bit, Shania, would you put a tracker on that general? I don't want to scare people in Lubbock, but obviously when we went to velocity a few minutes ago, Matt was using it. You see Lubbock in that. If it stays on this general track, it could be a threat to Lubbock. That's not to scare you, that's just to make you aware of it. We've done that with every city as this storm has tracked east and southeast. So just want to make sure that you're staying with us, and the fact that you've got that First Alert weather app, and that you've got yourself ready, that if you need to seek shelter, you can. I'm not trying to steer you at all. Just make yourself aware of that. If you've got outdoor activities, you may want to think about, changing those plans, if nothing else. There may be some very intense winds with this. Whether or not there's a tornado, this is a very intense thunderstorm with some strong winds, some very heavy rainfall that has produced some very large hail in its general track. So the only reason I'm showing this, and this is one of the reasons the Weather Service did not put Lubbock in a warning yet. We don't want to alert you too much. We don't want to scare you. We just want to make you aware of it. But I decided we'd better do that now, to rather go ahead and make you aware aware, not scared, so that you'll know what's coming this way towards the city of Lubbock, especially areas to our northwest, Anton, and shallow water in the areas northwest of Lubbock. So just be aware of that. Storm has a history, as Matt and Shania, we've all mentioned several times, and as the Weather Service indicates that of producing tornadoes as it's tracked out of New Mexico, particularly kicking up in the areas of Cochran and Bailey County and heading this way. These are the general towns, if you live in any of those, just to remain alert. But obviously, you go further east like that, unless the storm's still tracking that way, folks in Crosby, just be aware of it. You don't have to worry about it at this point. We'll see how things turn out. Other scattered shower storms on the backside of that, northwest of Levelland. Severe thunderstorm now moving into the Yoakum County area. Warning issued there. A warning issued for Cochran County. It does not include Morton, but what they're anticipating is look at the hail with that storm tracking to the southeast or southwestern corner, of Cochran County. It is moving northeast with some potentially large hail associated with it. Doesn't appear to be tornadic right now, but we keep in mind we are under that tornado watch most of our region, but it is producing some potentially large hail. That is well northwest of Plains and obviously Denver City. However, there is another storm further south that's impacting Denver City. That one also may have some hail. Here's where the hail's indicated north of 380 and northeast of Tatum. So that storm is basically tracking northeast. I haven't seen the speeds on it, but I'm estimating about 30 miles per hour. Let's see here. New severe coming for Yoakum, Cochran County, Hawkley, Terry counties for winds at least 70 miles an hour. Quarter-size hail, in other words, a severe thunderstorm warning extending out closer to Lubbock, and I'm talking about for the Lubbock area. We obviously know a warning now for Plains, and it does include Denver City. Maybe winds of 70 here, maybe quarter-size hail with these two storms tracking into your area. That has cleared Tatum. It looks like it's getting away or moving away from Lovington. So for folks down in Yoakum County, be aware of that. Don't look like there's major impact for Plains. Could be for Denver City. Some moderate showers in the Morton area. The hail will be tracking northeast up in the areas, potentially towards Morton, if it continues to remain this strong, if it continues on that track. So Shania's tracking that up. I know Morton's been close to severe weather off and on through the evening hours. And here's another great view here. We're going to back up just a little bit. And this is Farm to Market Road 1294. And this is currently west of Smyre, watching the storm system. And again, it has produced tornadoes several times. This is at a distance view, but it does give you an idea of what's going on close to the Smyre area with the track as we look at this on the camera at this particular point. As far as location, you can see that. I'm not sure. Is this Adam or is this?
Yeah, that's our KFDA crew right there.
KFDA, okay.
And so they've had a good vantage point right there on 1294. They actually just got onto FM 2130 just a moment ago there, but still in that part, eastern part of Hawkley County. They're going to circle back around with the storm right here. So, we'll show you here in just a moment. We want to wait for them to move the camera back around to get what we were just looking at there a second ago. And also know a big focus for folks tonight was watching Game 2 of the Women's College World Series. Earliest start now is 7:50 on that game. Again, 7:50 would be the closest time. So you can see now the vantage point right here along 2130. It doesn't appear that the funnel is down to the ground at the current time here, but it is close, and this is still a really strong rotating storm. This is going to give us a good vantage point on what that storm is going to do as it moves farther east, eventually here toward Lubbock County. We're seeing what appears to be a funnel right there, and from this vantage point, it's going to be difficult. There are a couple different areas of the storm we've noted the strongest rotation with it, but again, looking here in kind of central eastern parts of Hawkley County along FM 2130, which places it just a few miles west of shallow water. This is going to give us the best vantage point to know what this storm is doing as it continues eastward. If it goes due east, that'll take it towards shallow water and eventually the airport. If it comes more southeasterly, it would move toward northwest Lubbock. But this is and we're actually getting less dust obscured, and hopefully this will continue to be a storm that does this where, like last few scans, it is weakened at least on the amount of the level of rotation it's been showing us, but it is still a significant hail producer. Last few scans, I'm noting the rotation is not quite as tight. It's still rotating, and still at any moment could produce a tornado. But at least from the vantage point we see right here, it does not appear to be on the ground at the current time, which certainly is really good news for this storm. Again, tornado warning continues here for the next few minutes until 8 o'clock on this storm in central and eastern parts of Hawkley County. So that's the latest update here, John. This is the closest vantage point right ahead of the storm is where the storm is east of Whit Harrell. It's to the west of Shallow Water, moving a little bit more easterly. Rotation is not as strong as what it was a few minutes earlier. That said, we've seen the storm do that a few times. In fact, you can kind of see how it looks like. We'll hold it right here, trying to see if that's a funnel or lowering there at the base of the storm, if it's trying to recycle right here, and a couple different places where it could be trying to produce a funnel once again. But this is good news on this storm here, that we don't see it on the ground. Again, still see potentially a funnel, and they're going to get a little bit farther ahead of it. Still a supercell, still producing some large hail. This is just off to the west of Shallow Water. So we have multiple vantage points on this. We can actually show you the 3 different live views that we have right now from different sides of this storm. Again, this is a storm west of Shallow Water that has a history of producing tornadoes and producing large hail. But and I guess the better news is we don't see a funnel on the ground, but on the bottom right part of your screen, you're still noting it looks like a funnel is redeveloping with this storm and could come back down at any moment. So we're watching it closely, John. So before toss back to John, want to check in with Adam, who's near Smyer on this storm, and it's gone through. I mean, you've watched this for hours, Adam. It's gone through these cycles. What are you seeing right now with this storm?
I'm seeing dust.
A whole lot of it.
A whole lot of it. And, it's kind of like the other day when we were down south toward Lamesa and everything else. All these fields, of course, are freshly planted, freshly plowed, and just loose dirt being very easily picked up by these storms. And that's kind of what we're having. So really, I'm not seeing much unless I really kind of look more up. It's still a healthy thunderstorm, but it's starting to lose kind of some of those meso properties, at least from my vantage point. Some other folks might have better vantage points. I'm not really seeing it on radar. It's kind of starting to try to line out. But the thing is, though, is we've seen this storm do that already at least twice. It's gone through these cycles. So definitely, northeast side of Lubbock County, you're going to want to watch out, because at the very, very, very least, this thing is an efficient hail producer. Even if we have upper level rotation in the storm or mid-level rotation, it's going to produce that hail. But the view in Smyer right now is a lot of dust, and we're going to continue to keep an eye on it. We also, just kind of looking at those storms, I've also been trying to keep an eye while I've been stopped here on those storms off to the southwest. We're going to have to keep an eye on those here over the next couple hours, because this isn't going to be just one wave tonight.
Well, thank you, Adam. If you're in Lubbock, depending on your location, you're hearing the tornado sirens now. A tornado warning has been issued, and Adam can hear them there just west of town. And Shania will show the latest track on that tornado warning that has now been issued for the city of Lubbock. Just a moment ago, had a small tornado near Fisher Road and 1294, according to a National Severe Storms Laboratory researcher. So again, this is a storm moving into Lubbock. If you're in the city of Lubbock, need to be preparing to move to that place of safety, John.
Well, that is so true, and the alarms are going off, and obviously while you were talking there, I was texting some family members to let them know what's going on. It does include the city of Lubbock, but currently there was a small tornado you mentioned, Fisher Road and 1294 a few minutes ago. Looks like it does include the city of Lubbock, obviously, but no current tornado reports according to the National Weather Service. It's simply because of the rotation. That storm continues to rotate. It has a potential of producing a tornado. No reports of one on the ground. at this time, but it simply means you need to be getting in a safe place. The Weather Service has been very cautious watching this storm, very good at tracking it to the south and southeast, so it appears to be tracking our way. But as Matt mentioned a while ago, there's no indications of a tornado with it. We were trying to see it visually. We could see some funnel clouds potentially. We didn't see anything on the ground, but that can change in a moment's time with a system like this. So that storm is moving into Lubbock County. It's not affecting the city of Lubbock just yet. I know the alarm sirens are going off. Same thing probably in shallow water and probably been going off already in Anton, but just be prepared. Think about your safe shelter there. With that in mind, I'll turn to Shania right quick for a quick safety tips if you have it loaded there, Shania. If not, I can mention them.
That's okay, I can pull them up. Just emphasizing everyone getting in the middle of whatever building or home that you're in right now. You want to make sure that there's a wall, something sturdy between you and the outdoors. You don't want to be close to a window, don't want to be close to anything that could potentially shatter and then cause glass to hit you if a tornado does make its way through the building or home that you're in. Get on the ground, as low to the ground as you possibly can. Getting into a basement, of course, would be the best case scenario. If you have a storm shelter, getting into that as well. A storm shelter close enough to you, not that you have to drive to or something like that. You don't want to go outdoors whatsoever right now. Just making sure that you're trying to get in the center of wherever you are and get at the lowest point within the center of the home or building. And then last thing, cover yourself up. Use a mattress, use helmets, pillows, anything that you can put on top of yourself to protect yourself from debris if that tornado does potentially come through that building or home. Making sure that you're covering your head specifically. A lot of injuries and deaths are caused by the debris that's being launched and thrown around with the tornado making its way through the areas. Of course, the strong winds also causing a lot of damage associated with these storms as well. So making sure you're covering yourself, getting into the center of the home or building that you're in, and getting to the lowest point of that home or building. John?
All right.